Hello, welcome to Doobies with Doug. Tonight, we're smoking a big fat roach bomb full of hash roaches. Pull me window, watch me marijuana tree I grow. It's all about the weed. I gotta love the weed. So, when I woke up this morning, I had a whole list of shit to do. I did none of it. Zero. Well, I made coffee. That's it. Um, I did take a walk and go see a friend of mine, smoke a couple doobies with him, and stood at the edge of the cliff and stared at the ocean for about 20 minutes. But I've done fuck all else for the rest of the day, except read and talk to another friend of mine and chat on Facebook Messenger, whatever the fuck you call it. And it's been a decent enough day here, kind of pissy and rainy, kind of warm, sunny, off and on, this and that type of spring day. I just ain't been feeling it. Ain't been feeling leaving the house. And my friend that I was talking to, we just got into this really deep conversation. Um, there's something about making your own. Everything. The more important it is to you, eh, for whatever reasons it's most important to you. Whatever is most important to you, you should have the most amount of influence in creating. And the more influence you can have in creating the things that are most important to you, the better those things are going to work for you. And that goes for weed, it goes for food, it goes for beer for that matter. Whiskey, wine. You know how to make this stuff and make it for yourself, you're way more likely to have a healthy respect for what it is and how it works. You know, this cat was born with the proverbial silver spoon. Only in this case, it was a string of 3 silver mines in Mexico that his parents owned. And they gave one of them to him and one of them to his brother and one of them to his sister and her husband. Well, his brother joined the cartel and started growing weed for the Mexicans, for the cartel. His sister and her husband turned their portion into a cattle ranch. None of the silver mines were really producing all that well. Well, when I met this guy, he was trying to turn it into an eco village. That's how I met him. And wasn't having a lot of success bringing people there. So I gave him the idea of building a really fancy hacienda style, like 19th century hacienda style stucco house with a really fancy garden and a fancy chapel, and hire a couple of the local silversmiths who he was friends with, because he knows everybody, to come to work for him and sell an experience where you could come mine your own silver from the ground in this silver mine under the supervision of experienced miners, of course. Pull that silver up out of the ground and maybe even a gemstone or two, because they're found there. And take it up top, describe your wedding rings, have them made, and go get married in the chapel and get your pictures took. And it worked. It drew people in and kept the bills paid and kept the, you know, things flowing so that he could add to the eco village end of it. And slowly but surely just turned it into it's an eco village. They don't need the bed and breakfast silver mining end of the gig anymore. But sustaining the local economy is part of being a sustainable village, which is what being an eco village is all about. So the fact that he can support the local economy by putting silver workers to work and by bringing the name of the place up into the consciousness as a tourism destination and by so on and so forth, he's able to make a more profitable community around him to operate in. He's able to have customers for his extra produce. He's able to so on and so forth. And by bringing in European and American and Canadian college kids who come in to learn about permaculture and work on this eco village, he's bringing dollars into that part of Mexico. No matter how few they may be, they're coming in. I mean, luring in college kids is nothing like luring in major developers or whatever, but they also don't cause the issues. They're a positive impact on the local economy. And so I've been kicking it with him all day about how making something for yourself from scratch, whether it's from a piece of dry dirt to a garden to a weed plant that produces the best fucking buds you ever smoked to a bottle of beer to a quesadilla from stone ground corn that you made yourself, that you ground the corn. It's better. It's just better in every way, shape, or form. It's healthier. The amount of work it takes to make this stuff and the amount of calories that you get from it and just are perfectly matched to each other for some strange reason. The energy you put out is literally the energy you get back. If you're putting out a bunch of your energy to go put square pegs in round holes so that you can trade the energy for food energy, there's some sloppy math there. Because when you go buy food, regardless of what kind of food you're buying, you're mostly paying the middleman. You're not mostly paying the farmer, and you're not mostly paying people who did the work. You're mostly paying the middleman. So the math is wonky. You feel me? I come up with this concept that I try to apply to life. And it needs to be applied to any time you're designing things, like a society. Calories in, calories out. Define the places in your life where you're burning calories that aren't providing calories. The idea of being alive is to maintain this fact. Okay? The idea of maintaining the human race is to maintain the human race. And the way we do that is by measuring the calories that we're using. So if you look at fossil fuels, you're talking about tens of millions of calories of energy are spent on providing 10 minutes worth of heat for a house. And that's not a sustainable set of math. You need zeros. We need to live in 0-calorie overload or underload. And to put it in more simpler terms, when you have a garden, you realize that there's, like, the calories you put into rutabagas are X, and rutabagas are worth Y. And then you realize that there's a ZX Delta 5 that's involved when the people who buy your rutabagas also buy other products en masse. So there's a whole set of complex algebra to be done about the calories that you put in it. How much do these rutabagas actually gain me a market? That's why celery is popular for diet food, because it's net 0 calories. It takes the exact amount of calories to digest celery as celery has in it. Exactly. So I think what I'm trying to say is be like celery. All of us who live here in America, who live in the grid, we're running at a massive caloric debt every day of our lives. We can't help but take part in it. I mean, if we're lucky enough to have the strength and or the money to go completely off the grid and go eco-village somewhere here and just do that, or you can fall into a place like that and work in a place like that, that's awesome, but you still have to operate within the system that we have in the country. To some degree. I have to think about this in very literal terms every day, because I know I have to do X work, and then I've eaten X food, and if X times X doesn't equal Y, I'm going to pass out and fall off a 40-foot fucking ladder. Or if my caloric intake is 200 calories less than it should be for the day, I'm going to lose 2 or 3 pounds a day as long as it remains that way. And I'm working. I can literally tell you how many calories it takes me to put away groceries all night versus how many calories it takes me to bang nails all day. Okay? I have no choice but to count that shit. Because if I overeat, I'm sick, and if I undereat, I drop weight and I can't put it on. So I have to count my calories and what kind of calories they are and how they digest. And using this as a guideline in the universe is a good fucking idea. Okay, when you burn oil, when you burn wood, when you burn propane, when you burn anything, what you're doing is very quickly releasing calories in the form of heat through oxidization. And if you think about the calories it takes to make a gallon of gas, from the time they pump it up into the ground, ship it all over, refine it, ship it some more, refine it again, ship it some more, store it, pump it into your tank, all the calories that it took to make that gallon of gasoline. Factor in all the calories it took to make your car. Do all of that math, and you're looking at it. How does anybody ever think this is a good idea? Roach weed. Yeah, so the planet needs to go on a fucking diet. Not the planet, just the goddamn mangy monkeys. They're fucking humans. Okay? They need to go on a diet. They need to grow the fuck up. Okay? And we need to make it illegal for people to starve to death. We need to, as Earthlings, all of the Earthlings need to come together and say that's illegal. When there's more food than the human race needs, and massive tracts of people are starving to death, that needs to be fixed. First and foremost. If for no other reason, then we're going to need a pack of a bazillion fucking geniuses to undo the clusterfuck we've already made. And that's not going to happen if we let half the geniuses on the planet fucking starve to death in some fucking sweltering hole. For the sake of profits, by the way. So Americans can have 12 different types of onions on the shelves available for them no matter when and where they want them. And Europeans and everybody else. The Chinese are just as bad. Nixon knew what the fuck he was doing. He knew he had to demonize the equal rights, the civil rights, the human rights movement. He knew he had to. He also knew it was going to come to an end. He just didn't think it was going to come to an end for him personally until it was too late to stop it. I really wonder how much of a connection they made between the drugs that people choose to do and the ideology that they develop. From being a pot smoker from preteen, there's a whole bunch of stupid shit I see people suffering from. It's indoctrination from their childhood that I was too high to pay attention to. Almost everybody I know has trauma from school. No. I have trauma from school, third and fourth grade. I had a weird hormonal thing. I've talked a little bit before about it. Having a hormonal disorder. Well, I kind of went into puberty when I was like 7. Parts of me did, not all of me. Enough said. Um, I smelled like a full-grown man when I was little. I smelled like a big sweaty dude, and even if I cleaned up, wash rag and soap and everything in the morning before I left, or took a quick shower, I smelled like a full-grown man by noon. So kids called me skunk. And picked on me, and I knew I couldn't get in fights in school, so they'd bully me, and I'd have to put up with it. I knew my mom beat my ass. I got in another fight in school, so I didn't. But that trauma was over with and processed by the time I was 13. And by the time I was 13, I was ready, willing, and able to beat their fucking ass if they even tried talking shit about me. Because my mom wasn't in charge of me. And that trauma didn't stick with me. I processed it. I processed it as it happened as a kid. I was like, they're just fucking idiots. And it's not my problem. And that's because I was too fucking stoned to pay attention to what the fuck they were tripping on. Didn't care what they were tripping on. Didn't give a fuck why they felt the way they felt. I just wanted them to shut the fuck up and go the fuck away so I could go over by the creek and do a bong rip. I made a bong out of an old metal pipe that I found, somebody's weed pipe that they lost, and I stuck it inside 2 branches. And it looked just like a stick and lay on the ground. And I leaned it up against a tree down by the creek with weed in it, upside down so it wouldn't get wet. But it just looked like a fucking stick laying there. Pick it up and there was a bowl inside it. Cool as fuck. Fuck them idiots. I remember taking history classes and, I'd fucking read the history book and go, well, that sounds semi-interesting. And I'd go to the library and get a bunch of books and read up on the whole thing. Get whatever I could if it was something that interested me. Napoleon comes to mind. I read up on all that shit, Napoleon. And what he did and what he thought and his writings and all that kind of shit. I knew more about Napoleon and his armies and what they did and how they did it. And because I didn't read it with the same mindset they did, I had a deeper understanding of some of the things he was trying to say and that the people that were writing about him were trying to say than the teacher did. But I failed the fuck out of the test because I didn't remember date 1. Not one. And I didn't remember half the names of the fucking other characters. Didn't matter. The lesson that was there in history for me to learn, completely unreliant upon the actors. Who they were matters not one bit to me, which is why I hate the Iliad. If you've ever read the Iliad, you'll understand it. I don't give a fuck who you are. I just want to know what you did and how it turned out. You feel me? Don't care. So I always flunked the fuck out of history classes, even though I know history fairly well. I just don't remember dates. This fucking joint is about 2 grams worth of fucking black gooey roach. It's, all my joints this week have had this stuff in it. This wizard dust. The hell's it called? Banana Kush? Keef. The crystals, just trichrome shaking off the buds, if you don't know what keef is. Well, anyway, this guy here, wow, we fucking up my stereo, Adam. His name is Adam. Adam Ant. He keeps my roaches in his little tray there in the front. And he approves. Don't fuck with Adam. Touch my roaches. You see that little axe? See it? It's a real deal. Fucking sharp too. He'll cut your fucking hand off. Do not reach for my fucking roaches. But he doesn't want to stay lit. I read a thing today that said worldwide, the most commonly celebrated national holiday is one country or another every 6 days of the year. There's no period of the year that is 6 days, more than 6 days long, where a country doesn't celebrate their independence from England. I've heard it said that God never takes his eyes off the English Empire. And I think that's because he doesn't trust them. Oh, shit. Yeah. That's a thought. Imperialistic racism spread by the cross and the shield. And I've said forever that Australia, the United States, Canada, and most of Latin America are the bastard children of the English Empire. And even to some degree, Pakistan and Afghanistan. That's all they are. And we're still kind of living its reality. The English did something the Romans didn't. Made sure their system was in place. Over and above remaining the conquerors or the occupiers of a nation, they made each and every one of their conquests a subsidiary of their bank. If you look back in history of the relationship between the Dutch banking industry and the Rothschilds and the East India Trading Company, and flash that forward into 2022, the whole world starts to make a sudden different kind of sense. I dare say the English leaving India was almost as profound a blow as the English being kicked off from this continent at the time. It was those guys at that time that set up this network. And it said there's 2 strings in the web. One of them is the banks and the other one is the church. Don't believe me? Research the connections between the Swiss banks, the Nazi Party, and the Catholic Church. Let's read up on that a little bit. You could go into a room that 3 people have been in the last 25 years in the Vatican and sell 25% of the shit in that room on the open market to private collectors and solve world hunger for the next 25 years from one little treasure room. So yeah, it's no big mystery, man, why they made these drugs illegal. You ain't got no time for no motherfucking church, man, even if you're fucking stoned. You're sitting there listening to this dude talk. You're like, I'm gonna bust up laughing, man. This shit is funny. My parents took me to counseling because I started cracking up laughing in church. They thought I had something fucking wrong with me. Preacher man thought I was possessed. Fuck, I had him laying hands on me and shit and praying. I'm like, this is creepy. Careful where you touch me, fella. I got some jujitsu. I'm little, but I got some jujitsu, motherfucker. I'll fuck you up. You get near anything you ain't supposed to touch. But, nah, shit was funny. My grandmother used to make me read the Bible for punishment, which was stupid on her part. Because I was like 6 or 7. And I was 2 years maybe into learning to really actually read. And this shit was nearly impossible to fucking understand. But I liked figuring it out. So I would read it anyway. Used to try to figure it out. What the fuck they were talking about. And then as I got older, I read a whole bunch of other texts. Pre-biblical text and the Talmud and the Council of Nicaea, and I read a lot of shit. And it's all kind of funny. It is. But at the same time, it's terrifying because the so-called leader of the free world thinks that dude's wife turned into a fucking pillar of salt. People who run countries think a magic sky wizard carved a bunch of rules on some rocks for a guy to carry down off the mountain to mankind. How what the, how are we allowing this? Anybody else here ever read the book of Revelations? This geriatric motherfucker sees 4 horses coming down the street wearing Power Ranger costumes, and he's gonna push the button. What the fuck? Pull the planet over. We need a sober driver. People making fun of Donald Trump because of some of his stupid ideas. Have you seen some of the shit our government has done? Way back in the 1800s, we put up a weir on the Mississippi River. The Army Corps of Engineers did. Put in a weir, and it didn't work. So we put in another one, and it didn't work. So we put in another one, and it didn't work. And we put in another one, and that didn't work. And we kept putting in weirs all the way up and down the Mississippi River, and they've never worked. The next one's going to fix it, though. Yeah, being human is dumb. That's my official opinion. 99% of being human is stupid when you look at it from afar. 99% of what humans do is just stupidity. You ever thought about how much shit we set on fire? It's weird. We're fucking weird. We're odd, destructive creatures. Self-destructive. Oddest of creatures out there in the world are not self-destructive. We are. There is no food on this planet that we need that goes 200 miles an hour. And yet humans are obsessed with going 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 800 miles an hour. Why? A cheetah could probably evolve until he can run 200 miles an hour. He doesn't need to, because gazelle can only go about 60. What the actual fuck? So this has been Doobies with Doug, because this fucking ass joint ain't like no more. And I can't see my eyeballs anymore. Have a good night, y'all, and I'll see you next time.